In junior high and high school, I had an internal war weekly, every Wednesday to be precise, because on Wednesdays, a couple of local youth pastors would come visit the schools during lunches. At first, I didn't see any red flags. I'm a Christian, and Wednesdays are youth days, so it basically just made sense to me. However, the older I got, the more I learned about separation of church and state, and I began to wonder if these visits were actually a violation of our Constitution. This isn't just happening in my small town country high school, though. I realized that I'd become accustomed to seeing advertising of ministries and other church services on college campuses as well. And 9 times out of 10, this representation is only Christian. Now, private schools have the freedom to promote and encourage any religion that they see fit. But public schools are supposed to completely avoid any sort of religious favoritism. Despite separation of church and state, it's quite common to see church representation on public school grounds, affecting many people, both in favor and in opposition. Part of a Christian's belief system is that there is one Savior, and it is a Christian's job to spread his love and the knowledge of him. Christians believe in their core that it is their purpose on earth to help bring others to the saving of their eternal lives. According to Debbie Bell in You're Losing Us, the latest research from the Barna Group gives us this information. The current Barna study indicates that nearly half of all Americans who accept Jesus Christ as their Savior do so before reaching the age of 13, 43%. And that 2 out of 3 born-again Christians, 64%, make that commitment to Christ before their 18th birthday. This is why the teenage audience is the target audience. In all honesty, they're the perfect age because they're impressionable enough to be easily persuaded, yet old enough to make these sort of life decisions. Christians see schools as the optimal location to reach this age group. And as advertising increases youth awareness, it should be increasing involvement as well. Christians see the representation of church in schools as literally saving these kids' lives. However, not all kids believe in Jesus Christ and are set in their beliefs. And yet, they are still equally exposed to the Christian representation in schools. As students are exposed, they have the choice to either get involved or simply ignore it. Now, some students will choose to get involved and will join an organization that they feel truly fulfills them. But other students will feel surrounded and suffocated by this Christian representation and feel that their own beliefs are underrepresented. This can have very negative effects on a person's life, from something as small as annoyance to something as serious as depression. According to Davila, Denise, and Allison in That Shit Is Rude, Religion, Picture Books, and Social Narratives in Middle School. For instance, although the Christian population is extremely varied across philosophical, radical, ethnic, and economic fronts, many Christians assume a collective us inside our identity and apply the other outsider identity to non-Christian groups. Schools should not be a place where the outside world can make certain students feel as an other. Yet with allowing church representation in schools, it has the potential to do just that. The schools themselves also find themselves as a stakeholder in the situation. The separation of church and state is the law, and schools undoubtedly have to follow it. But are allowing visitors and a couple of signs and posters actually breaking that law? It's not, as long as they don't discriminate from certain religions to also participate in this. Schools have to consider their actions and how they will affect the relations with the community. If they allow this representation, they would be promoting students to join organizations that have atypical and relative positive effects on life. But they're also providing an opportunity for there to be rifts and disagreements between community members and students who have different beliefs. If they do not allow this representation, then there could be many community members and church members who do support this representation to be upset with the school system. All in all, it's a very difficult decision for the school to have to make. Churches want to be represented. However, they don't want all religions to be represented in schools. According to Daniel Olson in Religious Pluralism and U.S. Church Membership, a reassessment. More importantly, religious pluralism has a negative effect on church membership, even when these more appropriate controls are included in regressions. As students, they want their beliefs to be respected, and not all students even know what their beliefs are yet. They're still finding themselves. Schools are going to, regardless, be in a sticky situation with the community in deciding whether or not to allow this representation. And whether you personally believe representation should or should not be allowed in schools, you have to admit that this is a very complex situation and difficult decision for schools to have to make.